Hello, ghosties. You're listening to Not My Ghost.
Not My Problem. I'm Kelly.
And I'm Jen.
Whether you're a skeptic, a true believer, or somewhere in between, join us for a journey into the unknown.
Because remember, when it comes to the paranormal, it may not be our problem.
But it's certainly someone's problem.
Kelly, guess what?
What?
Our episode that came out, well, last week as of recording, not last week as of listening, which was the Old Jail Part 1, currently has the most downloads in the shortest amount of time.
That is awesome.
It actually has more downloads than every other episode of ours, with the exception of our first episode.
Oh, well, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. So it's our most popular episode so far.
I'm excited.
I will be interested to see, because it is a part 1, if
Yes.
part 2 has the same amount of traction.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Hopefully
people can't wait to hear part 2.
Yeah. And if you're listening to this episode and you're like, I didn't listen to the Old Jail, go listen to it, because it's a pretty good episode.
It's a really good episode.
It is. We went and investigated the Old Jail in St. Augustine, and it was a lot of fun. And then we talk about it for 2 episodes.
For 2 episodes.
Yeah. It was great.
It was. I'd do it again.
Me too. Well, welcome to our scripted, unscripted banter. I have a question for you, Kelly.
Okay.
Now, I know I asked you this question earlier today, so you have to give the same answer.
I have to?
Yes, you have to.
Okay, fine.
Yes, because there's a reason why I asked it earlier today, and it comes back into play later in the episode.
Okay.
Okay. The question is, if you were granted 3 wishes, what would your 3 wishes be?
Okay. So my answers were 1, all cancer eradicated. Nobody dies of cancer.
Okay.
It doesn't exist. Nobody's even heard of the word.
Okay.
The second would be world hunger eradicated.
Kelly's are a lot nicer than mine.
There's no reason why we have starving people in this world.
No,
There's just not. And
No.
if I could solve that, I would. And the third one would be the ability to heal people.
Kelly's so selfless.
Well, I directly benefit from all of these myself.
Well, I mean, you're not starving.
No,
So
but
you don't really benefit
you don't
from that
know.
one.
I don't know what's going to happen. I could be homeless next month in this
That's true.
economy. Maybe
Fair.
Maybe I would need food.
I mean, it might help your best friend who starves some nights.
You better not ever starve, because you know I'll send you food.
I don't starve. I can eat my frozen pizza. Anyway, Kelly's answers are a lot more selfless than my answers. Mine are, I would wish for Ellie to live as long as I do and to stay in her current state. So like she doesn't age, she doesn't get sick. And then when I pass away, she just peacefully passes away.
Okay.
Unless, of course, I pass away like tomorrow, then Ellie can live longer. My next one would be to be my ideal weight.
Okay.
With never having to worry about gaining or losing, like be able to stay at that weight forever with no, like I can do whatever I want, eat whatever I want. And my last one, I'm not overly selfish with this, to be comfortable financially.
That's a good one.
I'm not saying I need to be like rich, but enough to where I don't have to work or work full time at least. I can work on the podcast and travel and kind of do what I want to do in life, but not like stupid rich.
That's good. See, I had figured like when it comes to healing people, I figure I could heal myself of my food addiction. And then my weight would just kind of work itself out.
But see, mine's better because I get to be my ideal weight and I get to eat whatever I want.
Yeah, well.
So I still get to have that food addiction, though. Well, no, if my third wish comes true, then I could afford to eat. But anyway, those wishes will come back later in the episode, but just remember them. Well, are you ready to dive in, Kelly?
I am.
Okay. Today, we are exploring the mysterious world of leprechauns.
Leprechauns.
Yes, it is close to St. Patrick's Day.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to do a theme.
All right.
These little creatures are often associated with luck, gold, and St. Patrick's Day festivities. But what if there is more to these legends than just folklore and fun? Beyond the shamrocks and rainbows, leprechauns have ancient ties to Irish mythology, fae lore, and even some eerie sightings that might just make you think twice before hunting for their treasure. In this episode, we're uncovering the origins of the leprechaun, tracing their roots back to ancient Irish deities, and exploring how they evolved from trickster spirits to the iconic figures we know today. We'll also dive into modern sightings, mysterious encounters, and paranormal theories. So grab your 4-leaf clover, keep an eye on your pot of gold, because, you all have a pot of gold just lying around.
Of course we do.
And get ready for a journey through the history, mystery, and supernatural side of leprechauns.
That's cool because, see, I don't really know anything about leprechauns except for their, like, little green, well, I don't know if they're green people, but little, I don't know, mythical creatures that wear green and then, like, I don't know, slide down rainbows and leave their pot of gold.
Okay, well, we're going to learn a lot more. But before we do that, I have some fun facts for you about Ireland.
Ooh, I love Ireland. I like Irish men and women.
Mm-hmm. Don't we all? Well, maybe not everybody, but we both do.
Yes, we do.
Ireland is home to Sean's Bar, the world's oldest pub, which has been in continuous operation since 900 AD.
That's insane.
Right?
That's crazy.
Insanity. How has anything been that I'm a little lost for words. How is anything that was around in 900 AD still standing?
I will have to talk to my friend Michelle. She got a tattoo when she was in Israel at the oldest tattoo shop in the world. And I'm just wondering, I'll have to ask her how old that was.
Yeah, ask her. This is located in Athlone in the heart of Ireland. And this historic bar has stood the test of time. And it is recognized by the Guinness World Records as the oldest licensed pub in the world.
That's cool.
Now, one of the most well-known facts about Ireland is that the island has no native snakes. So the common myth is that St. Patrick, the patron saint of Ireland, was believed that he chased out all the snakes into the sea, ridding the island of them forever. While this is a great story for Irish folklore, it's much more symbolic than it is factual. Ireland's climate was never suitable for snakes to thrive in the first place. So they were just most likely never actually there.
Yeah.
Now, St. Patrick himself wasn't Irish. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Okay. He was born in Roman Britain and was captured by Irish raiders at the age of 16. He was taken to Ireland as a slave, but escaped after 6 years, eventually returning to the island to spread the word of Christianity. His association with driving out the snakes is a metaphor for his mission to rid Ireland of pagan practices.
That's what?
Mm-hmm.
Damn those pagans.
Damn pagans ruining everything. Actually, creating everything. Let's be real.
What is the significant to the snake? Is it that like the snake deceived Eve?
Probably.
All them talking snakes we have out there.
Yeah, the talking snakes that like apple trees.
Yeah.
Or maybe just pagans are thought of as snakes because we're bad.
Well,
and
you're bad,
evil.
but in the best ways.
Yeah, the best ways. The Cliffs of Moher are one of the most iconic natural landmarks in Ireland, which attract millions of visitors each year. It is situated off the Atlantic coast in County Clare. The cliffs rise up to 702 feet above the sea and stretch for about 5 miles. These cliffs are not just a natural wonder, but also have been featured in a very famous movie, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince.
Ah.
This was the location of Dumbledore's cave.
Dumbledore's cave. Dumbledore had a cave?
It wasn't his cave, but it's where he took Harry towards the end of the movie to get the Horcrux. Remember when he had to drink the nasty liquid and like writhe in pain, and Harry had to force him to drink it?
Jen, I have read the first book and I have seen the first movie.
You haven't seen the rest of the movies?
No.
I had thought for sure you've at least seen the rest of the movies.
I've seen probably about a quarter of the second movie. That's it.
Okay, well, when I come to visit in May, we're going to have one day.
We do not have time to watch all the Harry Potter movies.
Okay, we're going to watch at least one.
Okay.
Do I have to drunk read Harry Potter to you again, Kelly?
Yes, all of them while you're here.
While I'm there, every single one.
Every single one.
And I have to be drunk while I'm reading them, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was one of the best times we ever had was your drunk Harry Potter.
Do you still have that video?
I do still have that video.
God, please never, ever post it anywhere.
You don't want to put it up maybe for the patrons?
Maybe.
I'll have to see if I can find it in a way where we could put it in for the patrons, because it might be buried in Facebook memories somewhere.
That's fair. Is it actually on Facebook?
I think we did put it on Facebook, yes.
Did we? Oh, wow. Okay. Well, patrons, if you want to see me drunk read Harry Potter to Kelly and her children, let us know. And if you ask nicely enough, I may consider it.
Jen was just a baby at the time. Just a little bitty baby.
I mean, I was in my 20s. I wasn't that much of a baby.
I'm old. Like 20s is babies.
Anyway, before we get too derailed.
What? Us?
Us derail?
Us
Never.
derail an entire episode talking about nonsense
Harry
things?
Potter? Yeah. Okay. Scary facts. Now, Kelly, I have a theme for our scary facts.
Okay.
And the theme is specifically for you.
Okay.
Because you mentioned that you did not like this thing in one of our recent episodes.
Okay.
So the first we're going to talk about the haunted Leap Castle. Now, this is known as one of the most haunted castles in Ireland. And it is located...
Is it the religious garb people? I know you.
It is located in County Offaly and has a dark and bloody history. Built in the 15th century, it was the site of numerous brutal murders, including a notorious incident where a priest was killed during Mass. The castle is famous for its bloody chapel where the priest was slain. And it is said that the Red Lady, a ghostly apparition, haunts the halls, often appearing as a woman in a red dress. Guests and staff have reported hearing eerie laughter, footsteps, and the sounds of chains dragging across the floors.
Oh, that's spooky. Chains dragging?
And they didn't specifically say that the priest was seen, but I'm assuming he was, because that's the most famous incident that happened there.
Okay.
Next, we have the Black Abbey of Kilkenny. Now, this was originally founded in the 13th century and is haunted by ghostly monks and other spectral entities.
Okay, monks in general kind of freak me out.
They really do. I agree with you.
Like the chanting and the like.
And especially the ones that are silent. Like, how do you live your entire life in silence?
I lost my voice one time for 3 days, and I had big emotional feelings about that. I broke down in tears several times because I'm such a verbal communicator.
No,
not
really?
being able to do it for 3 years or 3 years,
for 3
days. It felt like 3 years. It felt like 3 years, but not being able to do it, I cried several times.
Stories persist of shadowy figures that appear in the cloisters, the scent of incense lingering long after services, and eerie whispers that fill the space. The Abbey was the site of many turbulent events during the English Civil War, and its history is steeped in darkness. And last but not least, we have the curse of the Chapel of the Cross. The Chapel of the Cross in County Kilkenny is said to have been cursed by a priest who was wrongfully executed for a crime he didn't commit. He vowed that no one would ever find peace in the chapel, and since then, strange occurrences have been reported. Locals claim that the visitors often hear unseen footsteps and voices, and some even say the stone cross in the chapel moves on its own. It is also said that no one has ever been able to hold a candle in the chapel without it being extinguished, no matter how protected from wind or drafts.
Well, that doesn't sound very priestly.
No.
To make it so nobody else can find peace there.
Yeah, I guess he was just really pissed at the church for...
Did the church kill him?
Well, I mean, I'm assuming he was wrongfully executed. Well, that is it for our facts. We are going to now dive in to leprechauns.
Alrighty. I am excited because I always love the episodes that I don't know anything about.
Good, I'm glad. Well, leprechauns are iconic figures in Irish folklore. They are known for their mischievous nature, craftsmanship, and association with hidden treasures. The leprechaun is believed to be linked to the Tuatha Dé Danann, which is a mythical race in Irish mythology, which is considered to be deities or supernatural beings. Over time, these figures were diminished in folklore, with leprechauns emerging as solitary fairies or spirits. Also, according to legend, leprechauns are shoemakers by trade, and they are known for their love of gold and expert cobbling skills, and are incredibly sneaky. Now, Irish mythology says that if you catch a leprechaun, he has to grant you 3 wishes.
I didn't know they were shoemakers.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. So, Kelly, what exactly is a leprechaun? Well, in short, it's a leprechaun.
Oh, that was one of my big dum-dums.
It was. I love it, and I'm going to do it forever. Leprechauns are considered to be a type of fairy in Irish folklore. But unlike the sparkly winged kind, these little guys are bearded, tricky, and totally unpredictable. Depending on the story, sometimes they can be mischievous troublemakers or helpful shoemakers. But there is always one thing that stays the same. They are all about gold and wealth. There is a legend that has it that leprechauns exist to test human greed. If you are too focused on getting rich, you might find yourself outsmarted by one of these tiny tricksters. And while their origins go way back, the leprechaun has become one of the most recognizable symbols of Ireland, whether in folklore, pop culture, or as a mascot for literally anything remotely Irish.
Okay.
What does leprechaun actually mean? Most leprechaun legends can be traced back to the 8th century Irish folklore about water spirits called leprechaun, which literally means small body.
Yeah.
And over time, these tiny creatures blended with household fairies and, according to legend, developed a serious love of drinking.
Jen, I didn't know you were a leprechaun.
Apparently, I'm a small bearded man who loves to drink. Thanks, Kelly. Appreciate you.
You know, I just meant that drinking part.
I know. Some researchers actually think that the word is not connected to the leprechaun, but it's actually connected to Luperci, which are the priests of the Roman festival Lupercalia, which could suggest a completely different origin for leprechauns. Then there is the local Irish folklore, which suggests that leprechauns come from the words leith, which means half, and brog, which means shoe. Since the old spelling of leprechaun is leithbragan, this could be a nod to the classic image of a leprechaun working on just one shoe at a time.
Okay.
Yeah, I love all those theories. But I think I love the one with them being leprechaun, which is the water spirits that blended with the household fairies and developed a serious love for drinking. I think that's my favorite theory.
Yeah, I would agree.
So, what do leprechauns actually look like? You gave us a very wonderful description earlier, Kelly. That should be what's in the dictionary under leprechaun, but it's not.
Aw.
When most people picture a leprechaun, they probably imagine a tiny guy in a bright green suit with a top hat and a mischievous grin. But there are other legends that tell a different story.
You know, thinking about it now, like I guess I've never seen a female leprechaun depicted anywhere.
We'll get to that.
Huh. Okay.
We will. We'll talk about that one. Traditionally, leprechauns were old men with wrinkled faces, white or red beards, and they were no bigger than a child. And instead of running around causing trouble, they were often seen sitting on toadstools, looking more like wise elders than pranksters.
Interesting.
Yeah. Now, back in the day, Irish fairies were usually described as wearing red or green coats. And early leprechaun stories often had them wearing red jackets, not green. The poet W.B. Yeats even had a theory. He said that solitary fairies like leprechauns wore red, while fairies who lived in groups wore green.
What's interesting is if you look at a color wheel, red and green are on opposite sides of the color wheel.
Yeah, and maybe the people that were reporting this were just colorblind. You have a form of colorblindness where you confuse your reds and greens.
Yeah.
Now, their style of clothing even varied depending on the region that they lived in. So the northern leprechauns were said to dress like soldiers, whereas the leprechauns on the West Coast were said to wear warm and rough jackets. I'm not really sure what they mean by rough jackets, but okay. Then the Tipperary leprechauns, which I'm assuming is a place in Ireland, but I have no idea, rocked old school slashed jackets. And the Monaghan leprechauns went full fancy mode with a swallow-tailed evening coat.
Ooh.
Yeah, those sound the best.
Fancy.
Very fancy. Now, the whole green leprechaun look that we know today came much later, probably because green has been a national color of Ireland since the 1600s. Plus, as Irish immigrants came to America, the leprechaun look was updated to kind of match their fashion. Now, leprechauns are usually described as tiny, super quick, and very hard to catch. They are solitary creatures, always guarding their hidden treasure, which is why they're often linked to those pots of gold in old stories. But don't expect them to be jolly little pranksters. Traditionally, Irish folklore paints them as cranky, bad-tempered, and foul-mouthed old men.
I like them even more now.
Yeah. They're known for quarreling, testing humans for their greed, and generally just being pretty grumpy. For creatures that are so obsessed with gold and wealth, you'd think they'd have a more glamorous job, but nope. Leprechauns, as we said, are known to be cobblers or shoemakers. Seems like kind of an odd career choice, but hey, whatever. Fairies do love to dance, though, so someone has to keep their shoes in good shape, right?
Yep.
Now, that said, D.R. McAnally, who wrote Irish Wonders in 1888, argued that the whole shoemaker thing is just a misunderstanding. According to him, leprechauns only fix their own shoes because they run around so much and wear them out.
Oh, well, that makes sense. It's a good skill to have.
It is a good skill. Now, the happy little leprechaun sitting on a toadstool, grinning and playing pranks, is not how they were originally seen in Irish folklore. That version comes from European fairy tales. While modern leprechauns are all about practical jokes, the originals were more about tricking humans for a purpose, usually to teach them a lesson about greed. Now, weird fact, as you mentioned earlier, Kelly, there are no female leprechauns.
How do they breed? Asexual?
Irish folklore only ever described them as tiny bearded men with no mention of leprechaun families, romance, or baby leprechauns anywhere. I want a baby leprechaun, I'm sorry. I wanted to come out the womb old and wrinkly with a beard on his face.
So it's like they were just somehow created at the age that they are and that there's only that many of them?
Nobody knows.
Maybe we'll get into this later. I'm not sure, but can you kill a leprechaun?
Oh, I don't know. There is no myth or explanation about how new leprechauns appear. They've just always existed. Some people joke that they spring up from the earth, fully grown and already grumpy. Others suggest that they might be a magical being that never really needs to reproduce. Well, whatever the reason, leprechauns seem to be one of the few mythical creatures that exist without a female counterpart, which, let's be honest, might explain why they're in a bad mood all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't have any women around.
Yeah.
Now, leprechauns have always been tricksters, but in traditional Irish folklore, they weren't necessarily evil. They're just grumpy, clever, and always ready to, outsmart you. But in the 20th century, leprechauns went through a very serious makeover, and instead of the cranky old shoemaker legend, they became cartoonish, mischievous little guys, thanks in part to the Lucky Charms cereal, and St. Patrick's Day marketing. Suddenly, they were less about testing human greed and more about rainbows, marshmallow cereals, and saying they're magically delicious. Then, of course, there was the horror twist. Movies like Leprechaun turned these once crafty fairies into full-on creepy villains.
I saw that movie years ago.
I've never
and
seen
years
it.
ago.
Is it worth it?
It's really... I mean, if you like kind of the... So if you like movies like Chucky, things like that.
Oh, I hate Chucky.
Okay, then you probably wouldn't like it.
Chucky is the one horror movie that I will never watch.
Do you not like it because it scares you or because it's dumb?
Well, it probably wouldn't scare me today, but I used to have an irrational fear of dolls coming alive and murdering me as a child. And I had nightmares. So one time I never liked the movie Chucky, and I always just saw the advertisements for it, and I never wanted to watch it. And apparently, one time when I was a kid, and I must have been under 10 because I was still living at my first house. And I remember waking up one morning, and my dad was there, and I told him that I had a nightmare about Chucky. And he said, "Oh, that's really weird because when I came in last night in your room to turn the TV off because you were asleep, I accidentally flicked the channel and the movie came on." And he's like, and I probably watched it for maybe a couple minutes before I turned it off. And then I had the nightmare. And yeah, I just won't do it. I don't know why. I've never seen it. It's probably really dumb. But
so I'll switch to, have you ever seen the movie Krampus?
No, actually, I have not.
Geez, Jen, have you ever seen a really dumb horror movie?
Plenty.
Yeah, it's like that.
Okay. That's fair. So, Kelly, how do you catch a leprechaun?
You make a leprechaun trap.
You do. Leprechauns are masters of trickery. And if you manage to catch one, you have to stay vigilant. Never take your eyes off of him. Even a brief distraction can allow him to vanish. So, Kelly, we're fucked.
Yeah, definitely fucked.
Because we could never catch a leprechaun because we would be distracted way too easily.
I'm also thinking that if they are tricksters, that our wishes are in danger.
We'll get to that. You also have to use appealing bait. Folklore doesn't provide any specific methods for trapping leprechauns, but modern interpretation, especially in the United States, has popularized the idea of leprechaun traps. And these are typically some type of child's craft projects that are set up on the eve of St. Patrick's Day and designed to lure leprechauns with gold coins, rainbows, and other enticing symbols. They're a fun tradition, but they don't really have any historical evidence to suggest that they're effective in capturing leprechauns. You should also be very wary of their tricks. Even if you capture a leprechaun, securing his treasure is another challenge. Leprechauns are known to offer 3 wishes or a gold coin in exchange for their release. However, their cunning nature means that they often twist these wishes, leading to unexpected and sometimes unfavorable outcomes. It is essential to be precise and cautious with any request made. In essence, while the idea of catching a leprechaun is captivating, it is steeped in tales that highlight their elusive and deceptive nature. Approach the endeavor with both excitement and caution, and always be prepared for the unexpected. Now, Kelly, I took our 3 wishes and I put them into ChatGPT.
Okay.
And I asked ChatGPT to rewrite our wishes and how we would have to ask a leprechaun to grant our wish to avoid any loopholes or mischievous doings by the leprechaun. Okay, so my first one, which is my ideal weight, it said, I wish to permanently and effortlessly maintain my ideal healthy weight with no negative health effects, without requiring any diet, exercise, medical intervention, or external influence, and with my body functioning at peak health for my entire natural lifespan.
Okay. That's very detailed.
Yeah. Next one is for Ellie's to live. I wish for my dog Ellie to remain in her current state of perfect health, energy, and happiness without aging, illness, injury, suffering, or pain, and to live naturally alongside me for my entire life, passing away peacefully, painlessly, and instantly at the exact time I do.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And my last one, which was lifelong financial comfort. I wish to have more than enough money to live a happy, stress-free, and fulfilling life, allowing me to travel, enjoy luxuries, and never have to work unless I choose to, with no negative consequences, risk, debts, or unexpected cost, and without harming or taking away from anyone else.
Alrighty. That's very specific.
Yeah. Do you want to hear yours?
Yep.
Okay. First one is cancer eradicated. I wish for cancer to be permanently and completely eradicated from existence across all living beings, past, present, and future, without causing any new diseases, unintended consequences, or negative effects on health, the environment, or medical advancements.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was interesting about it also being eradicated in past.
Yeah, because that means everybody's alive again.
Right. So does that mean that anyone who died of cancer would just be alive again?
I guess, but it's a good thing I solved world hunger because that's a lot of people. But
that is a lot of people.
I was thinking earlier when I had said cancer eradicated that I wonder what consequences would come from that, because without cancer, we probably wouldn't have developed chemotherapy. And chemotherapy is not only used to treat cancer.
Well, that's why you have to say any unintended consequences or negative effects on health. So that allows chemotherapy to still be in existence. Now, world hunger, it said, I wish for every living person to always have immediate and permanent access to sufficient, nutritious, and culturally appropriate food, which I love that it put culturally appropriate.
Yeah.
Because thinking about that, they could just be like, okay, McDonald's for everyone, in a way that is sustainable, ethical, and does not cause harm to the environment, economy, or any species.
Oh, so we're all vegans.
That one I'd have to relook at, because I don't know. Not cause any more harm to species than we already are. Because I don't want to give up meat.
I don't know. It said not to cause harm to any species.
Well, again, but this is, you can rewrite this and how you want to make your wish. I don't want to be a vegan. Not that there's anything wrong with vegans. I just like meat and cheese. Oh, cheese.
I mean, if I could
cheese, Kelly.
If I could solve world hunger and it meant that I had to be vegan, I would do it.
I don't want to give up cheese, Kelly.
We'll tell all of those starving children across the world that we can't solve world hunger.
Okay, so hold up, though. Doesn't necessarily mean that I can get vegetarian. I could be on board with that. Not that I want to give up meat, but I could. But
maybe
we don't necessarily have to be vegan, because we can just, all the animals we get cheese from and other things where we're not actually killing them. They're just being treated ethically and not abused and all of that.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And the last one, the ability to heal people. I wish to have the ability to instantly, fully, and permanently heal any living being of any injury, illness, or condition, including mental, physical, and genetic conditions, at will with no negative side effects, no cost to myself or others, and no limits on how often I can use this power.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. You could heal us both of our ADHD and anxiety.
Oh my God. I would have to, or I'd forget what my wishes were. Can you imagine, though, if you weren't specific and then you were granted the ability to heal one person?
Yeah.
That would suck.
How would you make that decision?
I feel like I couldn't unless it was one of my children that needed it.
Yeah.
And then maybe if I was on my deathbed and I knew I was dying. Because I also wouldn't want it to go past a natural lifespan either.
Yeah.
I don't want to keep healing people so they just live forever. But also I would throw in there that not everybody knows I have this ability. So
okay.
Like the whole world's not knocking on my door for me to heal them.
Right.
But I think maybe like at the time of my, like as I'm getting ready to die, if I knew anybody that had somebody in their family that was suffering from something like that, I would heal them. Or if not, maybe go to this would be wild. If I'm in a hospice center dying and there's a 28-year-old mom in the room next door, well, I'll go over and give her kids their mom back, you know?
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Back to leprechauns. We are now going to get into some of the reported leprechaun encounters.
Alrighty.
One of the most famous modern day leprechaun sightings happened in Mobile, Alabama in 2006.
That's interesting. Not in Ireland, but in Mobile, Alabama.
Yep. A local news station reported on a group of people claiming they saw a leprechaun in a tree.
Oh my God, I think I've seen the sketch of this.
And the footage went completely viral. I will post the link in our social media.
Is it?
It is. There is a sketch. Some people swore they saw a tiny figure, while others thought it was just a shadow or a prank. The whole thing became an internet meme, but to this day, some locals insisted there was something strange in that tree. Now, please go to our social media and watch the video, or just Google Mobile, Alabama leprechaun sighting and watch the video there, because it is fucking hilarious. They show the sketch, and this sketch looks like it was done by a first grader. And they were like, this is a depiction of what they think the leprechaun was. There was this part that they were interviewing this woman, and they asked her what they thought she saw. And she said, I don't know what I saw. It might have been a crackhead in a tree. And I lost it when I was watching it. Please go watch the video, because 10 out of 10 would recommend.
You know, or a leprechaun.
Yeah. Either a leprechaun
or a crackhead
in a tree. You know.
That's great.
Yeah. Great video. Great clip. Went viral. Was hilarious. I do remember it, but I was 16, so, you know.
I could have been a leprechaun. Could have been a crackhead in a tree. Could have been a fly in the ointment.
Could have been a fly in the ointment, Kelly. That's probably exactly what it was.
Probably.
You solved it. Bamf. In 1908, in County Westmeath, Ireland, they experienced a surge in reported leprechaun sightings. Numerous locals claimed encounters with these little people, turning the area into a hotspot for leprechaun lore. The frequency of these reports garnered media attention, though it was unclear what spurred the sudden increase in sightings. And beyond these well-publicized events, there are several hundreds, thousands, I don't know, of personal anecdotes of leprechaun encounters that continue to surface to this day. For instance, some individuals recount experiences reminiscent of Tommy knockers, which are leprechaun-like creatures believed by immigrant coal miners to inhabit mines, moving tools and causing mischief. These beings are often described as small, scraggly men with reddish hair.
If I was a stripper, my name would be Tommy Knockers.
I love that. I did go on Reddit and look up a personal leprechaun story of someone. And this story comes from Blue Silk Tree. So thank you, Blue Silk Tree, for sharing your story.
Yes.
And this is what they said. I haven't shared this story with many people, as skeptics are quick to write off experiences like mine. Around 7 years ago, when I was staying at my dad's house, I woke up in the middle of the night to see what I now believe was a leprechaun. I know that sounds absolutely ridiculous, but this experience was so creepy, it still gives me chills to this day. I grew up in my dad's house, and it always felt like home. It doesn't have any creepy vibes or a history of paranormal activity. It's just a normal house. Kelly thought she lived in a normal house too.
I did.
I was sleeping in my bedroom and I woke up facing the left side of my room. In the space about 1.5 meters in front of me, I saw this small man, maybe 3 feet tall, dancing in a circle. Since I'd just woken up, my eyes weren't fully adjusted, so I could only make out the outline of this thing, and I couldn't see any facial features. I hope this makes sense, but it wasn't a shadowy being. It was a solid mass, as real as a person standing in the room. He was wearing a top hat and dancing really strange. The dancing is hard to describe. The only way I can think of explaining it is that he was hunched over doing an exaggerated tiptoeing motion. Anyway, I'm watching it dance for around 10 seconds, which doesn't sound like a long time, but it was enough time for me to properly wake up and wonder what on earth I was looking at. I was shocked and frozen, thinking this can't be real. After watching it dance in this short space of time, it suddenly stops dead in its tracks and seems to turn around towards me and begins coming at me with speed. I screamed and flipped to the other side of the bed to turn the light on. When I looked back to the side of the room where it had been, it was gone. Needless to say, I kept the light on the rest of the night and didn't go to sleep until it was light outside and my dad was awake. For a long time, I explained this apparition as a creepy small man dancing around my room in a top hat. It wasn't until I told my boyfriend about it years later that he said it sounded like a leprechaun that it clicked. What do you think it might have been? In terms of rational explanation, I guess it could have been a waking hallucination or a overspill from a dream. However, I've had several instances throughout my life of waking up in the night and seeing apparitions. This experience, along with one other, have been the only times it ever felt different than those other times. It's not like I saw it briefly or as a quick flash. I had time to watch it and take it in. I was fully awake by the time it started to rush towards me. I struggle to explain it away, and it still freaks me out whenever I think about it. Do you think it was just another hallucination?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't really know what I think about it.
First, I thought sleep paralysis, but
yeah, nightmare.
The fact that they were able to then move to turn the light on when it started to rush towards them doesn't usually align with sleep paralysis.
No. I wonder though, like eventually we all kind of come out of sleep paralysis.
That's true.
So I don't.
Yeah.
Maybe
I don't know.
Maybe it was just like her moment of coming out of it.
But also in sleep paralysis, I usually feel like it lasts longer than 10 seconds.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I feel like 10 seconds was a really short sleep paralysis time. So I don't know. It was intriguing.
Yeah.
I read through a couple of different stories, but that was my favorite. Are leprechauns ghosts, Kelly?
It doesn't sound like they're ghosts.
No, I don't think so either. Leprechauns don't fit the classic definition of ghost. They're not spirits of the dead, but some paranormal theories do suggest that they could be residual energy or spirits tied to a specific location, especially near ancient sites like ring forts, which are deeply connected to Irish folklore. Some stories even claim that leprechauns vanish into thin air when spotted, much like your classic ghost encounters. Now, if they're not ghosts, are they fae?
What is fae?
Oh, Kelly. You don't know what fae are?
If I knew what they were, I wouldn't have asked you.
Okay, we're going to have to do a whole episode on fae.
Okay.
We'll need Birdie's help on this one. Birdie, we're going to need your help with fae.
Maybe Birdie could do a guest appearance for it.
Well, I've already have her. She's said she's going to do a guest appearance when we do Hellhounds, but maybe we could throw fae in there too. Maybe we could just do a whole episode on just like mythical, what people believe to be mythical beings that supposedly aren't mythical. Fae are included in that. So we'll learn about fae. Yes, in so many words, leprechauns are considered some type of fae or fairy. That's basically what it is, a fairy.
Oh, okay.
But it's a specific, there's more to it than just your generic fairy, which most people think of.
Okay.
So in traditional Irish mythology, leprechauns are classified as part of the Asshi, which is the supernatural race of fairies. But if you know anything about fae lore, which apparently Kelly does not, you know that messing with fae is a terrible idea. And that's all I'm going to say, Kelly, because we'll leave you to be shocked in a later episode about fae.
It's my favorite. It's my absolute favorite.
It'll be a fun episode. Now, not all leprechaun legends paint them as those mischievous tricksters. Some stories suggest that they guard ancient treasures or sacred sites, punishing only those who try to steal or act out of greed. And in this sense, they might be more protective spirits, ensuring that these places remain undisturbed. Should you go looking for one?
I would.
No. If leprechauns are just harmless folklore, then no harm done, right? But if they are fae, then looking for them could be asking for trouble. Traditional Irish belief says that interacting with the fae can result in strange disappearances, misfortune, or even time slips, where people vanish and return decades later without aging.
Hey, I'm down for that.
Yeah, but you miss decades of time. You're going to miss your daughters and your sons growing up.
Oh, yeah. You're can't take them with me?
No.
Damn.
This is like
kind of like a
angel.
reverse, like weeping angels. Yeah, that's what I was just.
Yeah. So unless you're prepared to bargain with ancient supernatural beings who just loves loopholes, it's probably best to leave them alone.
Fine.
Yeah. And that brings us to the end of this episode about the mischievous, elusive, and often misunderstood leprechauns. From their ancient origins in Irish mythology to their transformation into the playful and sometimes creepy figures we see today, it's clear that these tiny tricksters have more to them than just pots of gold and rainbows. Whether you're fascinated by their folklore, intrigued by modern sightings, or just enjoying the stories of crackheads in trees, one thing is certain. The leprechaun's place in history and pop culture is as strong as ever.
If you've loved what you've heard, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen. Also, if you listen on Spotify, you can leave comments on the episodes now. So please,
do it.
Really, anywhere you can leave a comment or a rating, please. Like on YouTube, if you watch, if you listen on YouTube, please leave us a comment there.
Yeah.
Your support really does help us reach more listeners and share even more stories with you guys.
It does. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Not My Ghost Podcast and on Facebook at Not My Ghost, Not My Problem. Please go follow us and watch the video of the news clip. I'll put a link in there so you can watch and laugh because it was hilarious.
If you want even more ghostly content, consider joining our Patreon. We have some fantastic exclusive perks for our supporters. And if you've ever had a spine-tingling paranormal encounter, Share your story with us at notmyghostpodcast@gmail.com. And you just might hear it featured on a future episode. You will hear it featured on a future episode.
You absolutely will, 100%. Thank you for joining us on this mischievous journey through the world of leprechauns. Remember, as you wander through the rolling hills of Irish folklore, keep this in mind.
If it's not your leprechaun,
it's not your problem.
Until next time, stay spooky
and stay skeptical.